Good evening and welcome to our show, Going Public. I'm Renee Fonseca, and joining us tonight is Sandra LaRose, the Chief Academic Officer for the Terrebonne Parish School District. I want to thank you, Ms. LaRose, for joining us tonight and taking time out of your busy schedule.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Today, I know you're going to provide us with an overview of what is taking place in our district. Over the last few years, we've had some challenges due to Hurricane Ida and due to COVID. Where are we with the repair process, and how has this affected our education in Terrebonne Parish?
Well, we started off just kind of doing preliminary repairs quickly so that we could get students back into the schools. And now that we have a little bit time this summer, even though it is a very short summer for us, we are focusing on some of the more permanent repairs that we need to have done in the district. We have multiple projects going on in the entire district. So anybody who passes by is going to see a lot of construction going on at different schools. Lots of work crews are there working on getting some of the tiles back on the floors, because when we went back, we had a lot of concrete floors. Sealing windows, fixing air conditioners, repairing the roofs again. So multiple things are going on. We are meeting at the central office level several times a week with our project managers just to see what the next steps are and to come up with the subsequent projects that need to be done. Everything is prioritized. A lot of the projects that are being done this summer are projects that we can't do when children are sitting in the physical classrooms. So that's some of the things that are going on. And we're proud to say that our Terrebonne and our South Terrebonne fields are scheduled to be ready for our fall sports to take place. And anybody who has passed by on Tunnel Boulevard by Southdown School has seen that lights have been added to the field there. And that was in an effort to give our teams an additional place to practice and to play, so that when their fields are being used by someone else, they have that additional space. And you asked how the hurricane affected education itself. So it did put a small damper on things. After the hurricane, we were only out for a month, which was an astronomical feat on the district's part. And all of those days were made up. Some were in a combination of minutes added and days added to the end of the school year. And then some people who went in on back to school on phase one, they only had to make up the days. They didn't have additional minutes. So with that being said, we really didn't miss any instructional time because it was all made up. However, we do know that unfortunately some of our families were not able to return back to their homes when their schools opened. So some of the children were out a little longer than others. So with all of that being said, our data showed tremendous amounts of growth. And so we're extremely proud of that. And we're proud of our parents who helped the children. We're proud of all of our students who worked so hard to make up that lost time. In our lower grades, we had our DIBELS benchmark assessments that were done. And this is done at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year so that we can see the growth that students are making. And our students in grades K to 2 did better than the state average with their composite scores and DIBELS this year. And the other places didn't have the natural disasters that we had here. So we were extremely proud of that. And then in the middle, more in the middle school grades 3 to 8, we have Achieve 3000, which is another program that we can track data on. And it tells us the students' Lexile levels. And we, again, were above the state average in our Lexile levels. And at the beginning of the year, when the students take the preliminary test to see what level they're starting the year on, we base a growth projection on that. And we exceeded our growth projection for their Lexile levels too. So we can't complain at all about that. We're really proud of them. And then in high school, I want to mention our dual enrollment courses, because the dual enrollment data is continuing to show an increase in both performance and participation. And so based on the last 3 cohorts of students, we're averaging 90%, a 90% passing rate with a C or higher. So that is something to let the public know about. 168 students from this class of 2020 were enrolled in 493 dual enrollment courses during their high school years. That was an increase from the class of 2020, where 101 students were enrolled in 221 courses. So we have had more students who are going that dual enrollment path so that they can get credit for those courses prior to ever leaving high school. So that's some of the kudos to the children that we saw in spite of the fact that we did have a hurricane in our area.
And that is amazing considering, the hurricane and all of that. Do you guys plan to continue tracking this data over the next few years and look at it to see the continuous growth?
Absolutely. We were tracking it even more closely than we always do because of COVID. And so after we saw these increases in COVID and we were responding to the results of the data in order to know where we needed to close gaps, when the hurricane happened, we had become pros at it because of what we had just dealt with for the 2 previous years. So yes, we are continuing to track that. And it's very interesting to compare the data prior to and our current data and to see how resilient our children are.
And the district, responding to this loss of learning, did we have to, as a district, respond because of COVID and then the hurricane?
Yes, especially in our lower grades. We were concerned. We sat around a table and had conversations about our K-2 students who, with COVID-19 had lost out on that initial instruction that they needed to learn to read. And research shows that if children are behind and they're struggling at the end of 3rd grade, it is very difficult for them to catch up with their peers. So we knew we had to step up to the plate even more so than usual. And so we did something called M-class interventions in grades K-2. It's a prescriptive reading program where the program actually tracks the data of each and every student. And then it also tells you what lesson comes next in the sequence that children need in order to build one skill upon another. And so at the end of the year this year, when we looked at our DIBEL scores in connection with our M-class interventions, we knew that it worked. And so that was our response for those lower ones. Of course, in all grades, we had to do interventions. And what interventions are is it's time for students to sit with a teacher and get direct instruction, either one-on-one or in a small group, on the skills that they're deficit on. And so that M-class program shows us in the lower grades what we need to do. And in other grades, it's watching their data, watching their daily test scores, seeing where the kids are lacking and responding to that. And then also our summer learning program that we have here in Terrebonne Parish was also implemented to close the gaps. And our summer learning program was an extension of last year's summer learning. We made it even bigger and better, although last summer was awesome, and we never thought that we would have as many students take advantage of our program, but they did. And we had about 700 to 800 more students this year than we had last year in the summer learning program. And it was something that was highly suggested by the state, that our districts implement a summer learning program that had both curriculum for the students and some fun things for the students to enjoy in the summer, to make sure that the students didn't sit idle all summer and regress. We wanted them to move forward and not backwards. So our district once again did a summer learning program. We hired our certified teachers to come in and work. There were counselors that are stepped up to the plate and said, yes, we'll work during the summer. We have nurses at each site. We have administrators at the sites. And so transportation is provided for them. They're fed both breakfast and lunch. So parents were able to go to work knowing that their children were there, safe, had transportation, had certified teachers taking care of them all day, and that they were enjoying themselves while learning.
It definitely sounds like the district is working hard to close that gap while provide a meaningful activity.
Absolutely. And it takes everybody. It's not just, one or two people. It's not just the teachers. It's everybody from bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, administrators, central office staff, our federal departments who have been instrumental in running this. So, yes, we are proud of our program, and I think the children are enjoying it.
Our district this year is hosting a summer learning program. What are some of the activities that are included in this program that the district is holding?
Lots of activities are going on. The students are kept very busy. We have about a little over 1,600 students from grades pre-K to 8 who are participating. And there is a little fluctuation of activities depending upon the age level and their abilities. So the program started on June 14th, and it is going to end on July 14th. Children are going on field trips. They go on a field trip each week. We have already taken them on some, and then some are going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. But the Alligator Farm, Jean Lafitte National Park, the New Orleans Children's Museum, the Aviation Museum, those are all some of the places that the kids are visiting. We do have a Cajun theme. Lagniappe learning is our theme. So as the children are arriving each day, they are, like I had said, fed breakfast, and then their activities start. And they follow a very structured day where they're doing curriculum as well as having some fun and doing their field trips. And so in math, we follow the ZERN program, which focuses on fluency facts. In science, each day they're doing ecology-based STEM activities, which are kits that are provided for the students. It's very hands-on, lots of experiments. Just to give you an example, because there's 15 or 20 of them, one of the kits is on acid rain. So the kids are doing some experiments about acid rain. And then another one is the butterfly life cycle. And again, depending upon the age of the student, that depends on the kits that they're doing. And then in reading, we have a variety of activities going on. The state provides us with a program called Accelerate, and it was implemented to help close some of those gaps. And so we are using the Accelerate program with the older students who are in the program. And then we're doing novels. So the kids are reading segments of novels and doing discussions and activities with those. And lots of vocabulary building activities are also taking place each day. And then, of course, we have to mention the art and the PE because the kids love that. Weather permitting, they are doing lots of activities outside. Several of the schools have covered pavilions that they can go outside to do activities there. And then in art, to go along with our Cajun theme, they're doing directed drawings, and these directed drawings are of objects that pertain to our Cajun culture. So lots going on. We've been visiting the sites. The kids seem to be having a good time. They send us pictures all the time, and they're always smiling. So I'm sure that we'll have another program next year, and hopefully they'll all come back.
So this is something the district plans to continue?
We are hoping to do that.
Well, it sounds like, you guys are providing fun activities for them. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't want to go.
Yep, they'll come back.
They'll be there. So let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about the upcoming school year. What has to be done to ensure that our teachers are ready to welcome the students into the new school year?
Okay, well, we know the physical classroom, which is a big focus this summer, trying to get classrooms back to the condition where we would like for them to be, just as far as cosmetic. You don't have to have tiles on the floor, but it's nice to have them. It doesn't affect the aspects of education itself, but it's just nice to walk in, see the classrooms decorated by teachers, and see those nice floors all waxed and shiny. That was always one of my favorite things, to watch the kids come into a new, nice, crisp school. So of course we know that that's always going on at the beginning of a school year. But we also have lots of changes, not major changes. Maybe instead of changes, I should maybe say some fluctuations with curriculum. And we know now that any time that you have something new or a little bit of a change with curriculum, you have to train your teachers. The teachers have to feel 100% confident going in with those new programs. And so we started that at the end of this past school year. Before the teachers got out, we started doing some of our trainings. And not only do we have to do the initial trainings, but we have to do follow-up as they're planning and as they're looking at the programs and they have questions. We like to get their questions answered and get feedback from them as they are preparing for the new school year. So in social studies, new standards were devised by the state of Louisiana in March. They went out. But those standards are not going to be 100% taught until the 2023-24 school year. However, just like with anything else, sometimes we call it a pilot, sometimes we call it a learning year. We're going to be using those standards this year. The teachers are going to be tiptoeing into them and trying to implement them into their current curriculum to get used to them, so that when they are 100% enforced the following year, that we're good to go and the teachers all feel confident. We're going to be doing training on that August 1st through 3rd. There's going to be some social studies training. So then we have, of course, what we call English language arts, which a lot of people call the English and the reading. And we have updated guidebooks. We have been using guidebooks provided by the state for the past few years, and our new guidebooks are called Guidebooks 2022. Not a whole lot of difference from the other guidebooks. However, we are so excited because they've added a systematic writing approach to daily instruction. So every day teachers will be engaging in some type of systematic writing with the students. So that's going to help them in all areas to be able to write across all content areas. And then earlier we had talked about M-class interventions, and we had such success with our M-class interventions in grades K to 2. So now we are going to be doing those M-class interventions, those prescriptive reading interventions with our K to 4 and K to 6 schools. So that's something that we have trained some of our teachers on and are going to continue to do that training for them. And then Eureka Math, everybody knows the term Eureka Math, and it's a program that's put out by a company who has realized, okay, we've been in this for, anytime we're in something for 5 years or more, they usually revamp it to meet the needs of the newer generation. And so our Eureka Math is now going to be called Eureka Math Squared. And minor changes. It's not going to change the curriculum itself. It just streamlines the materials to make it easier for teachers to know exactly what to do with children and what their needs are. And it's not quite as chock-a-block full where you're having to leave out components. The state has helped to streamline it. Also, training was done for teachers, training was done for administrators and our intervention content leaders prior to school letting out, so that they can look at their materials and plan, because we know teachers are working on their lesson plans all summer long. And so we're we've provided them with the new pacing guides that go along with that program. We also have responded to the requests of the people in our community and our teachers as far as makeup days for the district. It's difficult. We know it's very difficult for families. It's difficult for teachers. It's difficult for the students when you have to go into the month of June for school. And we want families to have family time during the summer. So Mr. Armstrong has gotten approved for us to have an additional 10 minutes added to the beginning of each school day. And those 10 minutes that are built into our schedule are going to allow us to have 5 days built into our calendar, so that if we would have to miss snow, heavy rain, flooding, hurricane, we would have 5 days that we would not have to make up because of that new calendar. So that should help everybody involved.
And those days at the end would fluctuate if for some reason we have to go to school one of those days for a rainy day. I mean, miss school for a rainy day at the end, we would just make it up at the end.
Well,
or it's going to be a fluctuating end.
If it's less than 5 days, we won't have to do it.
Okay.
If it's more than 5 days, then we'll have to work that out. We do have some makeup days built into the calendar. Again, like we always do, like for fall break and different days. We say we have this if we don't have to make them up. So again, that's added in also on the calendar. But those extra 5 days are new for Terrebonne Parish.
I would imagine that the feedback for that is going to be very positive. I'm sure, like you said, the community definitely wanted that.
Yes. The teachers and the students were cheering at the end. So we're glad that we were able to do that.
Well, good. I want to thank you for joining us and giving us such an overview of what has taken place and then what is coming up for the next school year. So thank you for taking time to come on the show.
Well, thank you for letting me have this time.
And I would like to thank you, our viewers, for watching. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday on Going Public. Good night.